It's an English village magic. Okay, well, I have 3 hometowns. Jamaica, which is like the countryside. Tokyo, which is my new home. But my favorite is maybe New York City. Brooklyn, New York, that's where I'm from. I love New York because you have, of course, every culture you can imagine. And it doesn't show, but I love food. So every type of food you could imagine, you can have any day of the week. And having friends from all over the world is also a big part of the culture of New York. Well, it's kind of funny. When I was working in New York, I had a boss who actually lived in Japan years before me. And he noticed on my desk I had many things from Japan. And he told me, you should try and go to Japan. And suddenly I thought about a few different things. And I thought about robotics, which I love. And I actually came to Japan with that thought on my mind. I ended up doing some research at Waseda and a few other universities for robotic research and design. I've lived here for Tokyo over 13 years now. In my free time, I think I'd have to say I really love cycling, nighttime cycling, like road cycling, so high speed, and I love dancing and archery. So I've been doing archery for about 8 years now. I'm patient. That's what all my students tell me. They're like, you have the most patience, and I keep them calm so that they don't get stressed when they're learning. That's what the students have told me. I'd have to say, like, the community is the type of community where you can talk to anyone. You can speak to the other teachers, you can speak to the great staff, and the number one thing is the students are all different. So, all different walks of life, basically. Very interesting. Very interesting. I teach a pretty wide range, from business, like big corporations, to just everyday grandmothers and mothers and fathers and retirees and kids too. So they all have a different perspective or a different reason as to why they're studying. Well, I have some students who've told me they don't like English, but they're doing it because of their job. So I'm just shocked that they actually still go through with it. But then what happens is I just try to cater it to what they really enjoy. And often I have like a big turnaround where they actually enjoy the class. Generally, I focus on the student's needs. But if I have a student who kind of finds English stressful, I try to tie it into something that they really love and enjoy. An example, I had a student who was an engineer, very stressed, very tense. I said, what do you like? He told me Gundam. I love Gundam too. So we basically built the class on the engineering of a Gundam, a real life Gundam, because he worked for a car company. And he went from 0 to 100 very quickly and very happy. I'd probably say learners who are worried, maybe they don't have confidence or they've even had a bad experience with English. I'm often able to get them to rethink and view the way they see everything in English in a more relaxed, enjoyable environment. Let them speak, keep it interesting, and don't be afraid to give them more information later in another class to support other things that they've studied. Okay. Well, the levels of the student, first thing I do is I ask the student, what is it that you really want? What are you trying to achieve? Is it listening, speaking, fluency, and so on? And I move from there. So basically, student focused. One good thing that's happened in my lesson lately is getting a student to understand certain grammar points that they couldn't understand for years. They had trouble with it. And I just broke it down into a very simple way where they were actually like, and they looked at me and they just said, this is the first time I've actually really understood it in all these years of studying this grammar. And that made me happy.
How did you do it? Like, how did you break it down? Do you remember?
That's the secret sauce. Well, I can't give you all my secrets, but students who are in my class, they understand that the number one thing, the way I do things, I break things down depending on the student, and if they're not getting it one way, a good teacher is able to fashion it in about 3 or 4 different ways. You don't just keep pushing the same direction expecting them to say, eureka. You give it to them in different styles. It could be writing, it could be a drawing, it could be even just role play. And that's probably the 3 tough ones. Well, if you want to start, don't wait. Come on in, let's start. And number 1, bring things that you're interested about, because that's basically what's going to pique your interest in learning English more. And we can always bring in topics that focus on what you love. Could be cooking, could be film, could be conversation or travel, anything, or business.